writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, it's a just stand here and click. Okay.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
At least you're honest.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Okay. Seems like a odd choice.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Okay. Oh, okay. Hold on. Sorry.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
Okay.
So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Oh, am I gonna get on the boat? I didn't want to do that, but okay.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Oh, lucky you. Oh.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
Fucking ocean. That's your surroundings.
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Okay.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Seems like a pretty shitty plan. Honestly, if they were treating you so well, why'd you get off the boat? Let me guess, out of water.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
You look mighty thirsty.
The change happened whilst I slept.
The change?
Its details I shall never know,
Oh, good.
for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
What does that mean? Oh. Squid
When
thingies.
at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
Where? Oh, you mean that over there? Okay, so it's not as big as I thought it was.
Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished. For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
Oh, I was on the ground. Oh, that perspective was like really weird.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
Okay. Oh, that's squelching. I could have done without it.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
Mm-hmm.
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Yeah, I don't think that's what happened, but okay.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might.
How do you strain your ears?
Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
What are you getting on at?
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
Yeah, not for long, bud.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time. That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
The fuck is that right there? That's not a fish. Alright, let's go wherever we're going.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
That render distance right there. Sorry, I get distracted. Well, if all I gotta do is click things.
All
This
day
could have been
I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
What the fuck is that? No. What the fuck is that? It looks like a femur with teeth. Oh. Sorry, buddy. So are you telling me this is what happened, like the land risen? Like what the fuck is that though?
That night I encamped, and on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Oh,
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
okay.
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
Gotcha.
I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again.
Fuck are you talking about? You're still
and in
here.
the glow of the moon, I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day.
What do you mean?
Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
Oh.
Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Is this like straight from the book? I don't know. I've never read the book. Oh, get your shit and go.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost,
Yeet.
and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Yeah. Yeet. Jump in. Do it.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent,
Don't do it.
whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Why would you climb in there?
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope
What the
beneath.
fuck is that? What is that? Oh, is this the Bethesda
Gazing
building
into
from
the
Fallout 3?
Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated.
Oh.
All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
Okay.
An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Uh-huh. Why would I go there, though? I only got the one choice?
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself.
Yeah, sure, okay. And a complete perfect cube.
But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
Yeah, no shit.
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express. For despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young,
Are you sure?
I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith,
Oh.
whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures.
Okay.
Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
I don't like how it's squelchy.
The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm.
I didn't know I could zoom. What the fuck is that?
And revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
What in the fuck is this? I see mer people. Paralysis demons. Whales. And other shit.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books. consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world.
Okay.
Those decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
The Cthulhu one?
Plainly visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré.
Who?
I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men.
Okay.
Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint.
Okay.
Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer. They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe.
Right. That built the perfect monolith that raised out of the ocean.
Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
Okay.
Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
Saw?
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark water. Fast, fiend-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sound.
Huh.
I think I went mad then. Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
Where am I? That does not look like ground.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
This rain sounds like you're in the shower.
I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital.
What the fuck?
Brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean.
So you did go crazy.
In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing, nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Fair.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Boobies. Dagon, the fish god, huh? Was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East, an ancient god of fertility and crops. The rulers of Akkad, Mesopotamia, chose him as a patron saint of their war conquest. He also appeared as a judge of the dead in the Assyrian poem, an underworld prison warder, one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's work, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. The main menu, okay. Okay. Now what? Oh, over here.
But
This fucking
soon
room's
perceiving
huge.
that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
Do not pick up the Necronomicon. It published many of his works through his company, Arkham House. Good received. Okay. Oh. I'm gonna have to start reading some of this stuff. Okay. Is that it? What am I looking for here? Am I just darting around the room? Why would I come over here just to go to the door?
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing.
The thing?
I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
You won't do it? Oh, I should have got the fucking
Often,
question mark.
I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm, a mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man of war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Uh-oh. I feel like Liberty Island's a little bit bigger than that, but...
The end is near. as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Why would you put that there if the door opens that way? I should have got the bottle. I don't know why. I don't want to go back and do it. I might have to.
It shall not find me.
If you don't see anything into this, it wasn't important.
God, that hand!
Oof.
The window! The window!
Oof. That sounded awfully crunchy.
You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain.